I've been a fan of the Fnaf franchise since the first game came out back in 2014. Although I credit Scream 4 with getting me into horror movies, Fnaf is what got me into horror video games. Well, watching them at least, since elementary school me was still too scared to play them myself. The Five Nights series is easily one of the most influential indie horror games of all time, and honestly, whether you like it or not, it's probably one of the most influential games of all time, period. The gameplay was simple yet effective, the designs perfectly fit the game's aesthetic, and it was made at a time where cheap jump scares were still appreciated. But I find it hard to believe that the game would have seen the success it had if it wasn't for its lore. Every game had its own variation, but Five Nights at Freddy's was a point-and-click game where you confined to an area and simply tried not to die. Does that have the making for a hit game? Sure, but a video game empire with countless games, books, merch, fan content, and an upcoming movie spanning nearly a decade? Probably not. The story never exactly took center stage. Even from the beginning, there was lore and mystery sprinkled throughout the background. The missing kids posters, the disabled camera, the elusive fifth animatronic that crashed your game. There are more layers to this game than anyone could have originally thought when first booting it up. And it left many questions like, what was the Bite of 87?
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the Bite of 87.
Who is the phone guy? And who is Golden Freddy? And why is this guy coming back to work after these murderous robots come after him? Fnaf pioneered a vague way of storytelling which was intriguing, but eventually became oh so very annoying. Because this don't show, don't tell will be present in every single game going forward. I'll just go ahead and get on with why I hate the Fnaf lore. I'll keep it short to avoid a Wendigoon length video, and I'll handhold you throughout the series for those who haven't binge watched hours worth of Fnaf theory videos. That's awkward. Really down on the second night, that's embarrassing. Okay, saying I hate the Fnaf lore in its entirety isn't exactly true. There's some amazing stuff in here, especially in the beginning. A Chuck E. Cheese-esque establishment with animatronics possessed by dead children was more than enough to hook me and many others. The second game was a prequel which established Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as a family entertainment chain as opposed to just one random rundown restaurant.
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
And even though it didn't answer any of the first game's main questions, unless you believe the security guard we play as, Jeremy Fitzgerald, is a Bite of 87 victim, which was never confirmed. Yeah, one of the game's original huge mysteries was never confirmed. In 9 years. Anyways, the game did give some pretty important details, like the purple guy who killed the kids, and the puppet that tries giving life back to them. And it did bring up some new questions, like who were they and what motivated them to do what they did. It was a good start. I sure do hope we find out why they did what they did. Game 3 continues the story pretty well, taking place in 2023 where we fight off Springtrap who's revealed to be the purple guy through the cutscenes. And I can really appreciate the original trilogy for telling a very decent and cohesive story. A child murderer kills multiple kids who then go on to possess animatronics throughout multiple locations.
The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
The children back the purple guy into a corner where he's killed by the very suit he used to lure kids to their deaths. The souls are set free, but the killer possesses his own body which leads to a final showdown between him and a security guard. The place is burned down and the story ends there. It does leave some questions unanswered or at least open-ended, but I think it would have been fine for this point in time in the series. The only glaring issue being who is Golden Freddy, because he seemed to be an especially important figure, so if one last game was made to expand on that topic, I wouldn't be opposed if done right. Fnaf 4, the final chapter, is where the story takes a turn from being pretty digestible and contained to, well, where we are now. We play as a crying child, who is probably the purple guy's kid. We see that this kid ends up being bitten by an animatronic and we're playing through his nightmares. It does set up the family element of the story, which in my opinion is the most interesting part of the lore. The mean older brother, the missing sister, where are his parents? His brother apologizing at the end is some good stuff. But it being the final chapter and all, I think it's safe to assume that Scott Cawthon originally intended for the series to be one big dream, which would have sucked. The game also heavily implies that the crying child is the Bite of 87 victim, which couldn't be since that victim survived.
Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
But does at least answer who possessed Golden Freddy? Yeah, kinda? Ugh. And of course I gotta address the elephant in the room, the box. What was in the box? I don't know, and I don't think Scott does either. Moving on. The next game in the series was Fnaf World, which is just a silly little turn-based game with no lore or anything.
Wait, who the f*** is this guy?
Sister Location is probably one of my favorite games lore-wise. Unlike the other point-and-click games in the series, this one has you do a different task every night and includes multiple voice lines which explains what's going on. It's revealed that we play as Michael Afton, William Afton's son, on orders from his father to go check out the abandoned sister location. Wait, who's William Afton? The purple guy, of course.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
And we first find out his name from the books. Oh, you think using books to add poor context to poorly explain yet important parts of the story is lame? Damn, that sucks. We see that the main antagonist, Circus Baby, is William's daughter, who got herself killed by her own father's creation, only to possess it right after.
There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment. I still hear her sometimes.
Baby manipulates her older brother, believing it to be William himself, and all the animatronics wire themselves together and scoop Michael's insides out to use him as a bodysuit and walk among other people.
They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
Michael either somehow survived the ordeal or possesses himself, but he's not dead. Springtrap is also shown to have survived the third game's burning, and the game ends there. A side quest shows us that there's cameras in the Fnaf 4 room, which adds a layer of complicatedness. Like, was it really a nightmare, or were they illusionary discs from the non-canon books? The Golden Freddy plush holds a walkie-talkie, meaning it was William speaking through the toy, all but confirming that the crying child was his son, and Michael had accidentally killed his own brother. This game is mostly fine, and doesn't give me too much of a headache. Pizza Simulator was presented as another FNAF World type of game. A silly little time, but unsurprisingly enough, it was officially the 6th game in the series. You most likely play as Michael again, tasked with bringing in each remaining animatronic to finally burn them down and set them all free. And who makes his master plan? Henry Emily, of course. Wait, who's Henry? He's also the guy that killed himself at the end of FNAF World. Wait, how does... whatever. The game's not too serious for the most part, allowing you to buy fun little things to make the pizzeria better, some of which add cool little lore bits, like the death of Susie, the first of William's victims who goes on to possess Chica, the death of Charlie, who possesses the puppet, when the security puppet wasn't able to get to her in time. Charlie's also the protagonist of the FNAF books, but she might as well be a totally different character. The books occasionally add context to previously established ideas, but aren't canon to the games. So although some may elaborate on things we have limited knowledge on, exactly how much we should take from them is never clear. But the absolute worst of the lore bits is the Midnight Motorist minigame, where you play as someone who gets turned away at the door at this random location, goes home to this couch person, and yells at their son for going to that place again. Many believe that this is William Afton, who is always seen as purple, so if he is this mustard man, it's for the sole purpose of being confusing. Is the person on the couch Michael, and the kid is the crying child? Is this after his death, and the couch person is Mrs. Afton, and Michael's actually the runaway? This is still assuming that this is the Afton's home. Where is that place? Is Junior's a bar, or some alternate name for a FNAF location? I don't know. But Pizza Simulator does give us a second best thing to come from the series. On the final night and all the animatronics are coming after you, Baby believes she has you, but Henry cuts her off and delivers the coolest speech I've ever heard. I can't do it justice, so here it is.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, little friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
The place burns down, killing everyone inside. William, Elizabeth, Michael, the missing kids, Charlie, and Henry himself. And that's the end of the Afton saga. Kinda. Ultimate Custom Night takes 50 animatronics from the series and puts them in one game, allowing you to go against anyone you want at any difficulty. Seems simple enough, but the truth of what's going on is revealed when you die.
Seeing you powerless is like music to me.
I will vomit you back to relieve your horror.
You won't die, but you'll wish you could.
We play as William Afton, stuck in purgatory after dying in the previous game. Multiple death scenes reveal the existence of the one you should not have killed, and it's safe to assume that they're the one keeping William in this never-ending cycle of death.
He's here and always watching. The one you shouldn't have killed.
I have seen him. The one you shouldn't have killed. We've only just begun. I will never let you leave. I will never let you rest.
I'll never let you rest.
And who is this person? It's the child possessing Golden Freddy. Cassidy. Duh. I hope you like deciphering codes. On a serious note, I hate this reveal. That it was this one random child who's just extra mad about being killed, keeping old Billy and all the other souls trapped here. They could have held this and let the crying child be the one hosting this purgatory, angry over finding out the monster his dad was. Or Michael finally getting his revenge after the decades of pain he'd been through. All in all though, I can appreciate this ending. William being forced to relive the pain he inflicted on others. His soul trapped in an unending loop of death with no release. Tortured by the very souls he had ripped away. For all eternity.
Welcome to the Freddy Fazbear Virtual Experience.
Oh, it could have been perfect!
And while it's true that some stories associated with our name were loosely based on actual events, the majority of them were total fabrications from the mind of a complete lunatic. Lawsuits pending. But we aren't above laughing at ourselves.
Wait, so the games never even happened?
Fazbear Entertainment hired the game developer. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened.
Oh, so the games did happen. People just don't have the news, I guess. Is this AI William Afton? Really switched up from paranormal to sci-fi. Okay. Oh, and now he possesses, or something. Cool. We're in a f***ing mall? Really came a long way despite the child murder, huh? Is this kid a robot? You know what? I'm not even gonna touch that. White woman jump scare! Wait, never mind. Oh, she's f***ing dead. Could have made a great antagonist lasting longer than just one game. If only the game was actually scary. He's back? So it was all for nothing? What the hell is a mimic? Oh, right. Okay, final thoughts or whatever. I don't hate the franchise. I don't love all the lore or the direction the games have been taking lately, but there are some good things here. There's nothing wrong with keeping the story mysterious, it's what got it so popular in the first place. But a lot of parts feel like they're left mysterious or confusing just for the sake of it. Just for more people to chime in and talk about it. Which is cool from a business standpoint. Scott himself has stated that he doesn't want to give a detailed explanation for that very reason. Which I understand to an extent, but I do feel like dragging a story along while kinda explaining some things here and adding new things there will negatively impact said story. And using books to take ideas from the games to use as their own story, which only possibly explains the original idea instead of showing us outright, is lazy. A story should be able to stand on its own without relying on multiple forms of media to get a clear picture. Of course, there's some exceptions, and Fnaf could have been one of them, but the games don't tell much. I wouldn't mind a canon book series, which does lay out some lore flat on the table, but I doubt that'll be happening anytime soon. And don't get me started on the timeline. Multiple pizzerias, multiple missing children, maybe. When do FNAF 4 and Sister Location take place? We don't even know who the real first victim is. It couldn't be Susie, it's likely that she was only the first of the original 5 missing kids. Was it the crying child? Would explain William's descent into madness, but why was his sister's room empty? If it was Elizabeth, then why was William already building kid capturing machines? Maybe Charlotte? She's the one I go with, but what do I know? And it's such an important factor as to why William began killing in the first place. It's never stated, and it's all so convoluted that I don't think anyone knows with what we have. And that's the issue. No one knows what's going on, not even the creator himself. Adding mystery after mystery just for the sake of it isn't clever storytelling. Constant retcons and inconsistencies just because new unforeseen twists were added muddies the already muddy story. We're trying to paint a picture while there's so many puzzle pieces that don't fit and a bunch of pieces that are still missing. And why? Just to stay ahead of the most accurate theories? It's stupid, and after so long it just becomes frustrating. Thanks for listening to me rant about the Spooky Bear game. And big thanks to Something in the World for making today's thumbnail. Also made my Hell of a Boss videos thumbnail, so go check out their Twitter, which is down in the description. I'll probably still try to keep up with the lore, it just doesn't interest me the way it used to, but if you like it, that's totally okay. People seem to take this game very seriously sometimes, which is kinda silly. I know I made a whole video about it, but it's really not that deep. If you think these games are a masterpiece, then that's your opinion to have. Enjoy what you want to enjoy and think what you want to think. There is another Fnaf video coming up soon, so subscribe to see when that one's out, and I'll see you guys later.